Good afternoon. I'm looking for Melody. Do I have the right number? This is Tucker's father, Jack. I understand you'll be coming over to my house tomorrow with my son to introduce yourself?
Oh, you're Tucker's dad. Yes, it's me, Melody. It's nice to finally get a chance to speak with you. Thank you for taking the time to message me. And yes, you're right. I'll be coming over there with Tucker tomorrow. I really look forward to meeting you.
I see. Usually in this sort of situation, you would be the one to message me first rather than making me go looking for your number. That's the polite way to do things anyway.
You know what? You're totally right. I'm sorry about that. It's just, we haven't met in person yet, so I felt kind of weird about texting you out of the blue.
Are you saying it's weird of me to text you without meeting you first?
No, that's not it at all. I'm sorry if it came off that way. I was just explaining how I felt, that's all. Maybe I should have asked Tucker for your number sooner?
Maybe? What other possibility is there? That's not a maybe. You absolutely should have asked Tucker for my phone number. You're coming to my house, interrupting my busy schedule, yet you're making me do all the work in contacting you? That's incredibly rude. It's easier to communicate than ever these days, and yet you failed to do even the bare minimum effort before coming to meet me. Don't they teach children proper etiquette in school these days? Even if they don't, that's still not an excuse. You're an adult. You should know better.
I'm sorry, sir. It's unfortunate that we're starting our relationship off on such an awkward note.
Unfortunate is when a tree falls in a storm and crushes your car. What you did was deliberate.
I don't know what to say other than I'm very sorry for offending you.
I'm suddenly much less hopeful about meeting you tomorrow. As I said, I'm a very busy man. Don't waste my time.
I hope that I live up to your expectations.
The bar is already set incredibly low for you. About the only way you could fail to meet my expectations would be to walk up to me and slap me in the face. You can keep yourself from doing that, can't you?
Yes, sir. I believe I can.
Good. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I gave you one simple demand when I first met you, Melody. Do not waste my time. And what did you do? You not only wasted my time, but my son's time as well. How shameless can a person be? You thought I would be willing to hand my son over to the daughter of a single father? I've never heard of such a ridiculous thing.
You know what's ridiculous to me, Jack? The idea that you would walk up to me, your son's fiance, on the day of our wedding, and punch me in the face. How could you do that to me?
It was rather simple, honestly. The only hard part was holding back my full strength. I have a nasty tendency to treat men and women equally, you see. In any case, what happened to you was entirely your fault.
You think it's my fault that you assaulted me?
I suppose if you're looking to avoid the blame, you could always pass the buck to your father. After all, he's the man who was such a miserable failure that no woman in the world was willing to marry him. How pathetic.
Excuse me? Do not talk about my father that way.
Fight your own battles, girl. This is about you, not him. The fact of the matter is you aren't worthy of marrying into my family. I'm the CEO of one of the most successful businesses in the state, and I built it from the ground up with my own 2 hands. And what of your father? He's such a loser that his wife left him, and even in all the decades that have passed since then, he couldn't find a decent woman to remarry with. That should be enough to explain how different my family is from yours. And if a man of that low caliber raised you, there's no possible way that you could be worthy of marrying my son. The jig is up, girl. It's now perfectly clear that you were only after my son for his money and nothing else. Now run along and find a man who's more on your level. I might suggest looking in one of the local homeless shelters.
You are, without a doubt, the lowest, cruelest, vilest man I've ever had the misfortune of meeting. You don't know anything about my father, other than the fact that he raised me on his own. And yet you think that you have the right to say such horrible things about him? Don't even get me started on that precious little son of yours. He put on a master class in shameless behavior. And all he did when you punched me in the face was stand there, mouth agape. And then when you berated him for wanting to marry me, what did he do? He apologized to you. Then when you told him to call security on me to have me removed from the building, he actually did it. I've never been treated so poorly by anyone in my entire life. You want to talk about a father's influence on their child? What does it tell you that your son grew up to be a sniveling little coward?
Insolent girl, you've clearly spent all your time around low-caliber men like your father. You can't even tell the difference between cowardice and filial piety. You know, the Japanese have an interesting saying, "A frog's children are frogs." Do you know what that means? It means that you're destined to be just as slimy as your father.
My oh my, Jack. You sure have a lot to say about my father. I don't think he'll be very happy to hear about what you're saying about him.
And what reason do I have to care about his feelings?
A pretty big reason, actually. He owns you.
What are you talking about?
I mean, my father is a majority shareholder in your company. He's your boss.
Of all the ridiculous lies you could have told, if you had said my daddy is a policeman or my daddy is a lawyer, then there might have been a chance that I'd believe you. But the majority shareholder in my company?
Didn't you notice that we have the same last name?
Yes, but there are hordes of Harmons around here. There is no chance that Lucas Harmon, a man that I know and respect, is your father.
You think I'm lying to you?
I know you are.
Fine. You can believe whatever you'd like, but you'll find out the truth soon enough. Keep your phone handy. I think you'll be hearing from him soon.
Melody, dear, I am truly, deeply sorry for what I did to you earlier today. My actions were entirely inexcusable. I just had no idea who you really were. To think that you were actually the child of Lucas Harmon. It was just too incredible to believe. Had I known the truth about your identity, I never would have behaved in such a terrible way toward you. Nothing would please me more than for my son to marry a woman of your caliber. It would be my greatest honor.
Jack, I am never going to forget this day's events. The look on your face when my dad walked into the room was priceless. You look like you had seen a ghost. You turned so pale. They could have used your skin color as a color sample for wedding dresses. Never in my entire life have I seen anyone so humbled by so quickly. You literally got down on your knees and begged him for forgiveness. I wish I had my phone with me. I wanted to preserve that moment forever.
Again, Melody, I want you to know how incredibly sorry I am. Your father is an incredible man and a great support to my company, and I insulted you. I offer my deepest apologies. Any child he raised would surely go on to be a successful member of society, and you chose my son to be your husband. That's the greatest compliment I could ever hope for. I'll get to work on planning a new wedding for the two of you. It's going to be 10 times as extravagant as the one that we canceled today.
What is this? Like, what do you think you're trying to do right now? You think I'm still going to marry your son after everything that happened? He's not worth my time. You punched me because you were unsatisfied with my family's circumstances, and he took your side. He played the perfect Judas Iscariot, too. The way he pointed me out to the security saying, "She's the one." The two of you are an awful lot alike. That is absolutely unthinkable behavior for a man.
I should have taught him better. You're absolutely right. And from now on, I'll see to it that he becomes a much better man. So please, I humbly ask for your forgiveness.
Never. And how exactly do you plan on teaching him to be a better man? You're the only role model he has, and you're worse than he is. You punched me in the face. That's a crime. And by the way, if you wanted to punch somebody at the wedding, don't you think you got your targets mixed up?
I'm not sure I understand.
Your son is the one who chose a supposedly unworthy woman to be his wife. I'd say that makes him more deserving of a punch than me, but for some reason, you punched me instead. What were you thinking?
Maybe you're right. Maybe my anger was misplaced.
Maybe? Perhaps? What kind of mealy-mouthed nonsense is that? How can someone who's been running a business as long as you have let that sort of equivocation nonsense out of your mouth? Maybe? You were wrong. Give me a break. There is no maybe. Is this how you run your company? If so, then that's really bad news. With someone like you at the helm, it's incredible you've avoided bankruptcy for this long.
No, it's not like that at all. My personal life and professional life are completely separate. I can admit that I've made some failures in my personal life, but those failures have nothing to do with my company. My son also wants to apologize to you in person if possible. What do you say, Melody? Would you be willing to meet with him and talk things over?
You just don't know when to give up, do you? I already said no. There's nothing for me and your loser son to talk about. Honestly, you're being so annoying right now, I almost wish my dad would have punched you. But I know my dad would never do something like that. He's far too strong and disciplined to lower himself to your level. But even still, you should consider yourself very lucky he stopped himself at just grabbing you by the collar. My dad is one of the calmest and most collected people I know, but I could tell he was holding back. His face was beet red. I've never seen him get like that before. That's the way a real man responds when someone hurts his loved ones. You should have been taking notes.
Melody, you're absolutely right. I am more aware than I have ever been of my own shortcomings. I can't even begin to imagine the difficulties your father must have gone through to raise you. Today's events took my respect for him to a whole new level, and my respect for myself to a whole new low.
This is a truly remarkable attitude change from you, Jack. I guess it's one of the benefits of having a wealthy and powerful shareholder as a father. If not for that, I doubt you would have stopped at just punching me and kicking me out. You certainly wouldn't have felt the kind of remorse you're feeling right now. Granted, I'm still not entirely convinced that the remorse you're showing is genuine. It all seems like you're just scared at finally receiving the consequences of your own actions.
That's not true. I'm truly, deeply, intensely regretful for today's events. I'm legitimately apologizing to you from the bottom of my heart. I've carried such awful prejudice against single fathers with me for all these years. But that all changed when I learned about you and Lucas. He's one of the most intelligent, moral, responsible men I've ever met. Knowing what I know of his professional side, I'm confident he put 110% of his effort into raising you properly.
Wow, thanks for proving me right, Jack. You really are only apologizing to me because of who my dad is.
Come now, don't think so poorly of me. I'm sure that I would have come to see the error of my ways even if circumstances were different. But enough about me, I'm more concerned about my son. Can't you just forget all about me and my nonsense and focus on him? I know how much you care for each other.
Any feelings I once had for him flew out the window the instant I saw his reaction at you punching me. The look on his face? It's almost like he felt bad for you. Like, oh no, my poor dad, he had no chance but to punch my fiance in public. So yeah, there's no hope of that relationship ever being rekindled.
Is there really nothing that can be done to fix this?
I'm not thinking about repairing anything but the damage you've done to my face. This bruise is gonna last for at least a few weeks. How am I supposed to find myself a new man looking like my last man used me as a punching bag? For real though, who punches a woman like that? What kind of man are you? It really hurts too. I should probably go to the hospital and get this looked at.
I am so sorry to have done this to you. I'll pay all of the costs for treatment, so just send the bills to my office and I'll compensate you.
You got that right. Seriously, you think I need to be told that? I'm not an idiot like you. But if you think that's the only consequence that's coming your way, then you got another thing coming. Both me and my dad are still very, very angry at you. This isn't over.
I'm so sorry I couldn't go to the hospital with you, sweetheart. But I suppose by now you're used to my demanding schedule. Still, I should at least be around to help you in your time of need.
It's all right, Dad. I'm a big girl. I can handle going to the hospital by myself. I was just glad that you were able to duck out of your meeting and come to the wedding. I had assumed you wouldn't be there until later.
How could I not come after hearing what happened? The way you were speaking on the phone, your voice was trembling. I could tell that you were in trouble. Any other father in my position would have dropped everything and rushed to help you right away.
But I doubt many other dads would have been able to hold themselves back like you did.
God, I wanted to deck that jerk right in the face, but I didn't. Was that the right choice?
Oh, that's not even a question. If you had punched him, it would be a lot more difficult to make our next moves. He would have been able to countersue.
You're absolutely right, as usual. You're such a smart girl.
I am your daughter, after all.
Now, how are you holding up emotionally? The punch was painful, I'm sure, but he said all those hateful things to you. Are you doing okay with that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna let it get to me.
Are you sure? I've never heard anyone be so hateful towards single-father homes.
Yeah, me neither, honestly.
Really? You've never been treated like that before? You know, mocked or teased because of me?
No, not at all. This was the first that's ever happened to me. That's a big part of why I was so surprised.
Well, if you say so, but I know it must have been difficult for you ever since your mother left. I've made so many mistakes. I wish I could have been there for you more.
Oh, Dad, you don't need to feel bad about anything. I always knew how much you cared about me. Unfortunately, there aren't many people in the world who are as dumb as Jack and his son are. So you've got nothing to worry about.
How in the world did you turn out to be such a strong girl?
I already told you, I'm your daughter. By the way, there's something that I wanted to talk to you about.
What is it, dear? Anytime you want to talk to me, I'll be there to listen.
Nah, it's not important now. You gotta get going to that party, right? Just forget about the whole mess at the wedding and go enjoy yourself.
I'll do that, Melody. And you do the same. Don't give that stupid old man any thought. He's not worth it. Besides, I won't let him get away with this. I'll see to it that he pays dearly.
And I know that you always follow through, Dad. Thanks so much. I love you. Have fun.
Melody! Why are you doing this to me? How could you be so cruel? What you're trying to do to me is terrible. I understand that you're upset over what I did, but still, you actually filed a police report against me? My lawyer told me you're pressing charges against me for assault. And not just that, your father has embarked on a vendetta against me as well. He's instructing the board of directors to fire me as CEO. You're going way overboard here.
Oh, you think this is overboard? I'd say I'm not doing near enough to ensure your complete downfall. You punched me in the face at my wedding. Don't tell me that I have gotten over that already. I guess you still don't realize how serious what you did to me was.
Of course I know! I messed up big time! I was a complete fool! But this is just too much for me to handle! I built this company from the ground up with my own two hands! I spent my life making it into what it is today! And now you're going to take it away from me? You can't do this!
Sure I can. I'm doing it right now, aren't I? My dad gave me his all every day, both at work and at home, to make me the person I am today. I'm proud of both my dad and the person I am, and you insulted me and physically assaulted me. You're not even getting half of what you deserve for doing that.
I already apologized for that!
Oh, is that all it takes? Okay, then I apologize for taking your company away from you and getting you arrested. There, we're even. I mean, really, did you think that it was going to be that easy?
I know that I deserve punishment, and you've already punished me enough. I've lost so much since that day. My son breaking up with the heiress to Lucas Hartman's fortune is enough of a loss to put me on antidepressants for the rest of my life.
What? That's not a loss? It's true that if you weren't a miserable scumbag and had to punch me or insulted my dad, you would have gained insider access to the family, but that's not something you lost. You just didn't gain it. You threw away the chance of a lifetime for both you and your son, and you did that of your own volition, so I don't want to hear you playing the victim.
That's not my intention, but word of this has already spread so far.
Yeah, social media moves fast these days. I didn't have my camera, but a lot of other people did in the room. The CEO of a major local company punching his own daughter-in-law at her wedding is the perfect recipe for virality. But don't worry, it won't last forever. You're not that important of a person. Soon, it'll blow all over and people will move on to the next viral sensation and you'll be completely forgotten.
Being forgotten is worse than being hated, though.
I know, right? Anonymity is the single biggest fear of someone who was once a big shot like you. By the way, I wouldn't have gotten this mad if you had stuck to insulting me, but you had to go and drag my dad into it. I watched him as he made sacrifice after sacrifice to raise me with all the love and affection I needed after my mom left us.
Please understand, I truly am sorry for what I did and said to you and your father. I wasn't thinking clearly.
That excuse isn't gonna fly with me. You knew exactly what you were doing. I know because your son got right in line with you. You trained him well. He was willing to betray me the moment you demanded it of him. So, I need to make sure that neither of you are put in a position to do that to anyone else ever again. My dad is going to do all the dirty work for me. Unfortunately for you, by the time you've learned your lesson, it'll already be too late.
But I have learned my lesson. I'm begging you, Melody, please. I won't ask you to marry my son again. I understand that's not going to happen. Just don't take my company away.
It's not your choice to make. As a majority shareholder, your position in the company is my dad's choice. Wow, this feels pretty good. I'll bet this is how you felt when you punched me at the wedding. Was it fun being in control? Having power? Feeling like you're invincible? Well, I hope you enjoyed it while it lasted, because your control and power are all gone. Now you're gonna get the taste of what real power looks like. Hey, Dad. So let's hear it. How was your date? Was it fun? Did you kiss her?
Melody, come on, seriously. It's embarrassing enough already to be out looking for love at the same time as my own daughter. Don't make it worse by forcing me to tell you about it. Ugh, I haven't dated in decades.
Which is why I'm super duper excited to hear all the details of your first date. Also, I don't know, I guess I feel kind of guilty.
Guilty? What for?
I know that a big reason you haven't dated any women since Mom left was because of me. Anytime I saw you talking with a woman at a store or party or something, I got super defensive and jealous and started acting up. Then you'd have to end your conversation to stop me from doing whatever I was doing. After a while, you just stopped talking to women altogether.
So you noticed, huh?
Once I was old enough to understand, it became pretty obvious. Jack told a bunch of disgusting lies about you, and that one was one of the worst. It's not that you couldn't find a woman who would marry you. It's that you were willing to give up a romance in order to prioritize me. It was my fault that you've been alone all these years, and for that, I'm sorry.
Melody, please don't blame yourself for my choices.
But it was my fault, wasn't it?
Nothing was your fault. You're my daughter. That means that you were the single most important girl in the world to me. I had a duty to protect you, care for you, and provide for you. And then there was no way I would do anything that would keep me from performing that duty. So don't feel bad. Just seeing your smile was enough for me to get through even the toughest of times. If me being with a woman was gonna prevent me from seeing that smile, then I can live without romantic love. I'd rather have the love of my only daughter any day of the week.
Aw, now you're gonna make me cry, Dad. You've already done more than enough for me. You don't need to worry about me or my happiness anymore. All I want is for you to have all the happiness that you deserve.
I already have it just seeing what a fine young woman you've become, sweetheart.
Seriously, knock that off. You're making me cry and blush. But for real, Dad, I'm really happy that you're finally out there looking for a wife. And you're not wasting any time at all, are you? You met the lady you had dinner with at the birthday party, right? That's my dad. Strike while the iron is hot, whether it's finance or romance.
That's actually a pretty good line.
Right? So anyway, you go ahead and get on the road, but you call me the instant you get home, all right? I want to hear all about how your date went.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, now that I think about it, didn't you say you had something you wanted to talk to me about?
Oh yeah, that. So when I went to the hospital the other day, I got talking to the doctor who examined me, and apparently we went to the same college.
Wow, what a coincidence. And, go on.
And his father is the CEO of the company that owns that hospital.
Oh, he sounds like a catch. Well, is he single?
Yes, and he invited me out on a date.
Awesome! Wait a second. What was the name of his dad's company?
Harmon Medical Group.
No! You're dating the son of another one of my employees?
I didn't know at first.
Well, I guess there's only one thing for me to do. Looks like I'll be firing another CEO this month.
No, Dad, don't! Fortunately, my dad was joking when he said that. He got even more defensive of me than usual after the whole debacle of the wedding, so I wouldn't have been too surprised if he actually did it. It turned out, though, that my dad and the CEO of this medical group were actually long-term friends. If I hadn't already met his son at the hospital, there's a good chance that our dads would have introduced us eventually. After Jack was fired from his company, he laid low for a while. Apparently, he decided that anonymity isn't as bad as he thought at first. Like I thought, the buzz surrounding his actions at my wedding soon faded from the public's collective mind. He ended up taking a lower-tier job or executive position at a smaller company in town. The pay is obvious a fraction of what he used to make, but with his reputation being what it is, he can't really be too picky. I understand that his goal is ultimately to start up a new company of his own, eventually. But as for my dad, as I mentioned earlier, he met a really nice lady at that party, and the two of them have hit it off pretty well. I'm so happy Dad finally found someone. He hadn't dated anyone since Mom left us, and I knew that must have been a big hit to his confidence. I've mostly put my time with my ex-fiance and his father behind me, but there's one thing I will never forget. The way my dad jumped right into action to protect me. The biggest and most important lesson I learned is that I can always count on my dad to back me up, no matter what. So, all in all, I don't think it was too bad of an experience for me. I managed to avoid getting married to a pathetic loser, too afraid to upset his own father, and I strengthened my bonds with my own father.